In my seventh grade history class, I was taught that American slaves were treated well by their masters and that most of them preferred life on the plantation to freedom. This obvious lie was among several that perpetuated this false notion throughout the American educational system for decades. And now, as Bethany Bell points out in an article for the Washington Post, these lies were part of an intentional effort to romanticize the American South and quite literally whitewash its defense of institutional slavery. Bell writes that in 1897, the United Daughters of the Confederacy formed a textbook committee in which they stamped their approval on textbooks that were consistent with lost cause ideology, an ideology that erected statues to honor Confederate generals and successfully lobbied to ban textbooks it deemed unfair to the South. Given this long history of attempts to whitewash the harsh realities of the United States, it should come as no surprise that emerging as a central issue in Republican politics is a renewed desire to edit the narratives of American atrocities, or in some instances, outright deny that they ever happened. A number of GOP-led states have moved to make illegal the teaching of subjects that lay bare the ugly truth about our shared story. Most recently, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, a likely 2024 presidential candidate, announced that in his state, they would outlaw this idea that we can teach everything that happened in American history, saying that it's motivated by a political agenda and that it's on the wrong side of the line for Florida. This renewed conversation about what should and should not be taught in American schools reminded me of a recent online exchange that I had with a Florida pastor about which side of this debate Christians should take. He argued that there is indeed a liberal, socialist, anti-Christ agenda that is infiltrating the American educational system. And he lamented that not enough Christians were voting the right way to keep this agenda at bay. This prompted me to ask, what exactly should be the agenda of Christians in America? If we see ourselves as a means to an end in ushering in some sort of theocratic government that is based on Christian nationalism, then who exactly is qualified to lead this government, and what will happen to one of our most treasured freedoms codified in our First Amendment, the guarantee of freedom of religion? I ended my online exchange by suggesting to the pastor that until Jesus returns and establishes his kingdom, I remain in favor of a pluralistic society that values the separation of church and state. But the example of Ron DeSantis in Florida, Kevin Stitt in Oklahoma, or Donald Trump in the White House demonstrates that there is any number of less than honest politicians that will seek to pander to the hoi polloi of nominal Christians in America who have conflated patriotism with genuine Christianity. Worse yet, it seems that now lost cause ideology is being conflated with Christianity to the point that being honest about our nation's history or the histories of our various Christian denominations when it comes to how Black people have been treated in America is considered anathema. When I was in the seventh grade and the lies of the romanticized lost cause ideology were repeated by my teacher, something within me protested. I didn't have the knowledge or the capacity to fully understand the racist magnitude of what existed beneath my teacher's claim that slaves enjoyed their life on the plantation. But I did have a question. I raised my hand and simply asked, but they were still slaves, right? Why would anyone want to be a slave? At this point, my teacher made me go sit in the hallway for being obnoxious. When governments, churches, politicians, or preachers seek to whitewash the truth, they deny their constituents an opportunity to repent, reconcile, and offer reparations for the shameful acts of the past. To cover up these events, not to speak of them, or to tell only one side of the story is tantamount to perpetuating and promoting the native language of hell. At the very least, we must be willing to find the courage to honestly examine our problematic histories and tell the truth about what happened.